Veterans Day. We celebrate our veterans today. And I'm not a veteran, so I made a point to reach out to a veteran that I know, a veteran that I adore, because this veteran is not only an amazing veteran, but also a cancer survivor. So I want to introduce everyone to a person that I love, that is Mrs. Tanja Thompson.
Hello,
So
hello, hello. Thank you so very much for inviting me. And even more importantly, thank you for celebrating and recognizing Veterans Day. It's probably one of my favorite days other than probably Christmas and my birthday.
yes, because I found out from another veteran friend that there's lots of goodies and perks that are available to veterans, not only throughout the year, but specifically for today. So I'd imagine that breakfast, lunch, and dinner is covered, right?
You got it. You got it. I posted that on social media.
Oh, you did?
I did. I was like, for all you veterans out there, let you know that breakfast, lunch, and dinner, the places have you covered. Cracker Barrel. If you want coffee, you can go get a coffee from Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, IHOP. All of those places offer something for veterans, and they actually have a specific menu for veterans. A lot of places do. So, like Red Hot and Blue, Texas Roadhouse. Let me tell you what, we've gone to Texas Roadhouse on at least maybe 3, 4 occasions. They have a specific menu specifically for veterans on Veterans Day. It's
Oh,
standing room only because
that's
everyone
beautiful.
is standing in line getting that free lunch. Yes.
Okay, well that's beautiful. So for those of you who, either so even for you those of you who are COVID conscious, even if you don't feel comfortable being at the restaurant, I'm sure those restaurants are offering the ability for you to, take those perks, those items to go.
To go, absolutely. They are.
Yes. And I think that's a good transition segue into COVID and cancer, because those of us who are cancer survivors are in the high risk category. And you being veterans, I read somewhere where veterans, it seems that they have a higher chance of cancer than others. Are you familiar with anything like
You
that?
know, it's interesting you asked that because I was just listening to Dr. Otis Broadley, and he is a Bloomberg fellow, not a fellow, but actually doctor at John Hopkins. And he was saying something about veterans and, well, talking about females and as a compared to civilians, in that we don't get it any at a we get it primarily at the same rate, but the difference is that we have access and utilization to treatment as well as diagnostics, so that our mortality rate is still in comparison with women that are white women in a sense.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you bring that up, because obviously there are disparities out there, and it's no different than cancer disparities. And so to hear you say that the access and the treatment that you as veterans, active military have, that it actually increases your rate of success in getting the treatment that you need, and also improving your outcomes. So it's leveling the playing field. It's interesting because it's Veterans Day, and a lot of people perhaps don't realize I'm a history buff, so I love reading about and watching history. And um, it was the armed forces that became one of the biggest bodies ever integrated before anywhere else, and it was actually the armed forces that helped to spark a lot of the movement to integration and to get equality for all of our citizens.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the thing is, if you go back even further, one of the first sets was the Moffett Point Marines, which was all black military men. And actually, my husband's father, Walter Thompson, he served in WW2, and he was a Moffett Point Marine right there in North Carolina. And it's so interesting. You talk about, you hear so many things about joining the military. And one of the things I can remember, he's since deceased. And one of the things I can remember him saying was, why wouldn't I join the military? I got 3 meals, I got shoes, I had a safe place to lay my head every night. And think about that when he was coming along, and definitely think about war, WW2, we weren't integrated, and we were not having, this didn't have the same opportunity. So just to hear someone say that I got 3 meals, I had a place to live, and I got new boots. Sometimes it's the simple things in life. Yeah.
Hmm. Well, I was so gracious to know Tanja, and learning about her cancer diagnosis and the things that she went through. And then I went through my own cancer diagnosis similar time. And I was so excited when you released your book. Can you share a little bit about the name of your book and what inspired you to write your book?
My book, the name is What to Expect When You Wasn't Expecting Breast Cancer. And what really sparked it was the idea that there are a number of women that live in fear, in diagnosis and as well as secrecy. Another part of that was when I was diagnosed in 2005, I didn't know anyone with breast cancer. And I definitely didn't know anyone that looked like me. And I wanted to show other women that there are Black and brown women of color that are survivors, and what that actually looks like from a survivor's perspective, in providing the photos to what happens when you go through chemo, what looks like when you go through radiation and you have third-degree burns, and when the burns come through your back, and when people look at the photo, they think that was the entry point of the radiation, but that was actually the exit point. So that, and then the different surgeries that I went through. So those were the biggest things that really, really sparked me to write my book, and then to have that legacy of having a book and being an author as well.
Okay. Well, I remember when you were sharing your story and your book, and I really appreciate, because I know that whenever I was going through cancer, one of the big things is reconstruction. And I recall going to the plastic surgeon and asking him, and they had books, they'd show you pictures. And I was like, well, where are the pictures of the Black and brown women? I want to know what it looks like for us, because in my particular case, I knew I was keloidal. So when you're keloidal, that means you scar easily, and it's hard for your scars to heal. And I asked questions about it, and they just, at least the surgeon I spoke to, hadn't seen that many brown and Black women. And he took my question to heart and said, you know what, I do need to get more pictures of women of color. So the fact that your book has that information and has pictures, because it's not just what you read. A lot of us are visual learners.
Visual,
yeah. And we need pictures. So
yeah.
Thank you for sharing your pictures and your story with other women. And well, that's a good segue. So I also, being inspired by you and also my story, was able to write a book as well.
And I love it too.
Thank you. So I've been diagnosed now, courageously fighting cancer in the face of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And I was inspired by your story and how courageous you were, and asked you to help contribute a portion of my book. And one of the reasons being is, I saw how courageous you were, not only in sharing your story and giving inspiration to others, but also I recognize that there are a number of women and men who are in the military who often get diagnosed, and just to understand what may or may not be a little bit different for them. And so I asked, and you responded. And when we got the story, it's funny, you just mentioned in the conversation about, trying to push through and be, courageous. And the chapter that we put your piece in was called Turning Woe Is Me into I Got This. So hearing your story, you didn't know what the title of that chapter was going to be, but it laid just nicely. And I wanted to share just one of the paragraphs that you wrote. And you provided a number of pearls of wisdom. And I want to share just one that Tanja has for those of you. who are going through this, whether or not you're a survivor or a family member. Pearls of wisdom I would recommend for living. 1, lift your voice. Ensure your voice is being heard. For example, I was unable to take the tamoxifen as the side effects were horrifying. The doctors tried several different types, all with varying side effects. I finally just said no more. My quality of life was being diminished with all the side effects. I made an informed and conscious decision to stop taking the medication. I do advise before starting or taking any medication to consult your healthcare professional. Tell us more. Lifting your voice. You as a cancer survivor, as a veteran, give us more about lifting your voice.
Listen, I'm still suffering from tamoxifen. I'm sitting up here sweating now.
I've been there, let me tell
Yeah.
you.
And you know what? I don't think people really realize all the effects that medication has on us. And when you talk about your quality of life, I think that is so important, especially when you are informed. And being informed gave me the wisdom, gave me the tools to be able to have that conversation with my medical professional. One of the medications that I was on, I was constantly falling. I fell up the steps, I fell down the steps, I fell just walking my dog. And when I went to my doctor, and I didn't really go to him to talk about getting off the medication, I was just telling him about the side effects. He said, well, what you're doing all of that falling, I'm more concerned that you may fall and bump your head. And then that's a whole nother problem that you're gonna have. And definitely with the tamoxifen, I had constant sweats. I sweated day, night. I can remember, and I'll never forget this, where I was giving a presentation. I was doing a training, and there's probably like 100 people in the room, and I'm standing at the podium. And one of the attendees actually leaves to go out, and she was sitting up front, so it was obvious. And she left and went to the bathroom, and she came back and she brought me tissue to wipe my face with because I was sweating just that terrible. And when I went to my doctor, he gave me all these different medications to help stop with the sweats, but none of it worked. And having that dialogue, having that relationship with my physician, him understanding me and what was important for me gave me the tools, but then also he understood. So he didn't try to persuade me one way or the other. He said, it's your decision. You're making a conscious decision. You know what you need, what's best for you. And I believe that is one of the things that we don't do very often, is that not that we're challenging the medical professionals, but in a sense, because we know our bodies and they need to hear from us how we feel and how we see things. And that's one of the things that I do professionally, is conflict coaching, as well as having those courageous conversations. And I believe those tools gave me the ability to have those conversations with my doctor through not cancer once, but through cancer twice and everything subsequent to that.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I too believe that courageous conversations are necessary. And you shared also an element of the fact that your provider looked at you as being a key part of the team, not just an object to be operated on or to be, tested or to be prescribed, but to be a key member of the team. And that's essential.
Yes,
and communication is essential.
absolutely. No doubt. No doubt.
So again, I appreciate you dropping in for a little bit and sharing part of your day, because it's Veterans Day. So I celebrate you as well as all the other veterans who are out there. We as a country, we thank you for everything truly that you do. We know the sacrifice is great, and we know that we owe our freedom to the sacrifices that you are made for our country. So everyone go out there and celebrate. And again, check out our books. The name of your book, Tanja?
What to Expect When You Wasn't Expecting Breast Cancer, and it's on Amazon.
Okay, and then my book is I've Been Diagnosed Now What? Courageously Fighting Cancer in the Face of Fear, Uncertainty, and Doubt. So if you love, you can check us out on Amazon. Both books are available. So thank you, Tanja.
Thank you, Katricia. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank
And
you.
last but not least, for anyone that hears today, thank a veteran. Buy a veteran a cup of coffee, even though it's probably free anyways, but at least thank a veteran, not only today, but every day.
Absolutely. That's a good way to send us off. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and have a great day.